Okay, arm muscles. So we're going to talk about the upper arm first, and we're going to start with the shoulder area. Okay, so this arm muscle actually would sit like this. Okay, so these muscles you're seeing right here actually towards the back of the arm, towards the back itself. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're talking about this, because remember the shoulder blade here is your scapula. Okay, so this bone you're seeing here is actually the spine of the scapula. So again, this is the spine of the scapula, and we have the muscle above and the muscle below the spine. So you're going to have your supraspinatus and your infraspinatus. Supra means above and infra means below. So your supraspinatus is above the spine of the scapula, and your infraspinatus is below the spine of the scapula. So supraspinatus, infraspinatus. And if you remember when we did the back muscles on the torso models, you had your infraspinatus, then your teres minor, and your teres major. So supraspinatus, infraspinatus, all of this, your teres minor, and your teres major. And then if you turn it around, this is your subscapularis. Sub means under, and remember your scapula curves in like this. So that muscle right here would actually sit on the inside curve of the scapula. So it sits a little bit, if you're looking at the curve, below or under the scapula. So sub means under, so this is your subscapularis, okay? So supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, teres major, subscapularis. Okay. Now the big part of the shoulder muscle right here, this is called your deltoid. Okay, so that big rounded hump of the shoulder is your deltoid muscle. Okay, so now let's talk about the upper arm. Okay, so you can see here, if I were to flex my muscles, thumb side, okay, my thumb or thumb side would be right here. And so the muscle that the boys always, when they're flexing and they want to show off their muscles, this is your biceps brachii up here that the boys like to flex and show off, okay? So when you're looking at this, thumb side, okay, this big muscle right here that the boys like to show off, this is the biceps brachii. You think the boys, boys, biceps brachii, BBB. Boys like to show off their biceps brachii, okay? Opposite of that, you have this two-headed, see both of these, are gonna be your triceps brachii. So biceps brachii, and opposite of that, you have the triceps brachii. Now between the biceps and the triceps, you have this muscle right here. This is your brachialis. So your brachialis is going to go between the biceps brachii and the triceps brachii, brachialis. Now if you flip the arm around so you're looking at the inside of the arm now, you still have your biceps brachii and you still have your triceps brachii. And this time you have a long cord muscle separating the two. This is your Coracobrachialis. Okay, so the two muscles that separate your biceps brachii from your triceps brachii are your brachialis or your coracobrachialis. Okay, so your coracobrachialis looks like a long cord. Coracobrachialis separates your biceps brachii from your triceps brachii. Or you have your brachialis separating your biceps brachii from your triceps brachii, okay? So again, the two muscles separating your biceps brachii from your triceps brachii is either on the back side of the arm, your brachialis, or on the inside of the arm, the coracobrachialis. Looks like a long cord, okay? And that's the upper arm. So now we're going to go to the lower arm. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the forearm. Okay. On this side, palm side, you're going to have your flexors, and the back of the hand, you're going to have your extensors. So remember, extensors are on the back side and flexors are on the palm side. Okay. So you're never going to have an extensor on the palm side, only your flexors, and you'll never have a flexor on the back side, only your extensors. Okay. So if you're flexing, okay, flexing your wrist, these are the muscles you're using. And if you flex, you can feel these tightening up. If you extend, and you extend kind of hard, these are the muscles you can feel actually pulling, okay? So again, on the back side, you're gonna have your extensors, and on the front side or the palm side, you're gonna have your flexors, okay? So let's get started talking about the back side of the arm here. And we're gonna go from the top down to the bottom. Sorry, my muscles were coming off. Okay, so the top hump right here is gonna go from your brachialis, okay? And it's gonna go down the radial side, or the radius side of the forearm. Remember, your thumb rotates, okay? So the radius bone is on the thumb side. And your pinky, okay, is at the end of your fingers, and U for ulna is towards the end of the alphabet, okay? So the ulna is pinky side and the radius is thumb side. So this one right here is going to be called your brachioradialis, because it goes from the brachialis down through the forearm to the thumb side. Remember, this side, thumb side, is going to be your radius. So brachioradialis, okay? That's this big hump one right here. Okay, then going down one from that big hump, this one is your extensor Carpi Radialis Longus. Excuse me. Remember, we said the extensors are on the back side. And this is radialis because it goes towards the thumb, okay? But it's extensor carpi. Where does carpi come from? Because it goes down here to the carpal bones, okay? So extensor carpi radialis longus. Okay? Then you go down to this next big muscle right here that goes right down the wrist, down the middle of the wrist to the fingers. This one is your extensor digitorum. Extensor, again, all your extensors are on the back side of the arm. So extensor, and it goes to the digits or the fingers, so extensor digitorum. Then the next big muscle right here is going to go down to the pinky. This is our extensor carpi ulnaris, because remember, your ulna is pinky side. So extensor carpi, because it's going to the wrist, ulnaris. Okay, so let's look at those again. The big hump right here, this is going to be your brachioradialis. The next big muscle right here is going to be your extensor carpi radialis longus. Then the next big muscle right here that goes down the middle of the wrist to the fingers, this one is going to be your extensor digitorum. And the next big muscle down here is going to go towards the pinky. So this one is going to be our extensor carpi ulnaris. Okay. So again, brachioradialis goes down towards the thumb. Extensor carpi radialis longus. Then this big one that goes to the fingers, this is our extensor digitorum. Then the next big one down here goes towards the pinky. This is going to be our extensor carpi ulnaris. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the muscles on the palm side. And remember, your palm side are going to be your flexor muscles. Okay, so we're going to start down here at the pinky. So this big fat one right here that goes down towards the pinky, This is going to be your flexor carpi ulnaris. Flexor because it's on the palm side, so it's going to help with flexion of the wrist. Carpi because it goes to the carpal bones. And ulnaris because it's on that ulna. Remember, pinky side is where your ulna is going to rest. So your flexor carpi ulnaris. Then the next big muscle right here goes down to the middle of the wrist and then down towards the fingers. This big one right here is called your Palmaris Longus, okay? Because it's going to the palm of the hand, okay? So Palmaris Longus. The next big one here is going towards the thumb side. So this is going to be our flexor carpi radialis. Flexor because it's on the palm side. It's going to help flex the wrist. Sorry, I lost my placement. Carpi because it goes to the carpal bones, and radialis because it's on the thumb side, so that's where your radial bone is going to sit, okay? So flexor carpi radialis. So let's look at those again. The big fat one down here going towards the pinky, this is going to be your flexor carpi ulnaris. The next big one here goes down towards the middle of the wrist into the palm. This is your Palmaris longus. The next big one here goes down to the thumb. This is going to be your flexor carpi radialis. Then right here, this small muscle right here, almost on the inside of the elbow, this is going to be your Pronator Terry. Pronator Terry. And then I'm going to push it in so you can see. Between these two ligaments here, or these two tendons here, I'm sorry, you're going to have, I meant between these ligaments. Okay, you're going to have this indention. This indention is called your Pronator quadratus. Okay. Again, this long one that goes towards the pinky is your flexor carpi ulnaris. The next big one going towards the palm of the hand, this one is going to be your Palmaris longus. This next big one that's going to go from the elbow down towards the thumb, this is going to be your flexor carpi radialis. Then you have this one here, excuse me, is your Pronator Terry. And then in this indention between the two white structures here, this indention right here, this muscle in this indention is called your Pronator quadratus. Pronator quadratus. Okay, now we're going to start talking about our deep arm muscles. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our deep muscles of the forearm. You can tell we're talking about our deep muscles because you have the little white circle here. Remember, the little white circles clue you in that we're talking about deep muscles, because this is where our superficial muscles would fit into. Okay, so they would fit in like this. Okay, so that metal rod right there sticks into that hole to hold our muscles in our muscle model. So when you see one of those white circles, you know that we've taken some muscles off and now we're looking at the deep muscles. Okay, so let's talk about the one that you need to know, palm side. Okay, so again, we have the white circle, so we know we're talking about a deep one here. And going right down the middle of the hand right here, or sorry, the middle of the forearm, this is going to be, and it's palm side, so that means you're going to have a flexor. So it goes to the digits. So this is our Flexor Digitorum Profundus. Profundus means deep, okay? It's a Latin word for deep. So this one right here, palm side, you know it's going to be a flexor muscle, and it goes to the digits, and it's deep. So Flexor Digitorum Profundus. Again, remember, profundus means deep. So Flexor Digitorum Profundus is this long middle muscle here, okay? You can also still see, where did I put my pointer? You can still see that between these two white structures here, you have that deep muscle right there in that groove. that is your pronator quadratus. So they can ask you this with the superficial muscles taken off as well. So I want you to be aware of that. Profundus quadratus. And this middle one here is your Flexor Digitorum profundus. Now we're going to turn, excuse me, to the back of the arm. Oh, hang on, let me, had a screen come up. Hopefully it doesn't mess up y'all's recording here. Okay, so this big fat one here towards the elbow, this is going to be your supinator. Okay, and then right here, going towards the thumb, this is going to be your abductor Palmaris longus. Okay, this is going to abduct the thumb. Remember, the thumb is your pollex. So it's going to abduct that thumb. Okay, abductor Palmaris longus, ABD, abduct. So again, right here, where my fingers are running across, this is your abductor Palmaris longus. Supinator, abductor Palmaris longus. Those are the only two deep muscles you have to know on the forearm here, okay? Supinator, right here, this big fat muscle, and then right here, going down towards the thumb, you can see it curves around towards the thumb, is your abductor Palmaris longus. And those are the arm muscles.